always great to be with the summer school, which I think is a very unique and very useful endeavor, particularly in those challenging times we're facing now. I think that one of the major dimensions of this crisis and the way to think about this war is a 9/11 type event that sets in motion multiple pieces and a very unpredictable but very challenging and dangerous dynamics is reaction of China. China is the other rising superpower that's surpassed US in PPP terms when we measure GDP. It's nearly there. It has some way to go in nominal terms, and is really one of the countries that are visible and palpable everywhere. And I think that in this crisis, there is a lot of talk on whether China supports Putin's war or whether China tries to be a constructive force for peace, and what is China's kind of real attitudes to this war. In order to unpack that, we couldn't be more fortunate that to have Professor Henry Wang or Wang Huiyao with us. Dr. Wang has a very illustrative and long career. I don't want to go through all of his titles and affiliations. What's essential that he's the founder and president of Chinese Center for China and Globalization. That is the leading Chinese non-governmental think tank, not the think tank that's affiliated with the Chinese state. And its achievements have been recognized by being ranked number 64 worldwide in the 2020 Global To Go Think Tank Index, compiled by University of Pennsylvania. Henry sits on multiple boards in the associations that are attached to Chinese Ministry of Commerce, Chinese Ministry of Foreign Affairs. So he's very involved in the policy making and policy advisory, but also has an academic career, being the professor and dean at the Institute of Development at Southwestern University of Finance and Economics, and also has a career that spans between consulting, teaching, including at Harvard and other universities, and research at think tanks like Brookings, and also international organizations like the World Bank. So by the way, Professor Wang is also a prolific writer. He's authored nearly 100 books that are available both in English and Chinese. I think the way we structure this conversation is that Professor Wang will deliver his remarks for around 20 to 30 minutes. Then I will ask him a couple of questions, and then we will open up, and we'll have 90 minutes for this session. If that's okay with everybody, Henry, the floor is yours, please.
Okay, great. Thank you, Anne and Alex, and all the fellow summer participants. So it's great to meet all of you virtually, and I'm actually speaking to you from Washington. I'm actually just near the end of my 10 days visit to US. First, a think tank delegation. Actually, we have 3 or 4 colleagues. We came here for the last 2.5 years. So it's quite interesting to see what's going on. And also, we conducted extensive exchanges with heads of think tanks, business associates, community leaders, and of course government as well. So of course, one of the frequently asked questions is about China and its attitudes towards what has happened in the Russian-Ukraine conflict, and what's the relations and all those things. So that has been very, very often, almost in every meeting I had. So I can see this gravity of the issue that has been really concerned by many people around the world, and of course for people in China as well. What I'd like to talk about today is basically give a little background of what about China and Russian relations, and even to that extent maybe goes back a little bit to the China Soviet relations, and then we will come to what has happened today and what has been in the past several months. What intensified this crisis. As we all probably know, I'm sure we have Anne and Alex are all experts on Russia and also on China. And China actually, I remember, when we grew up in China, the former Soviet Union has a huge influence in China, because at that time people learn Russian and and then there's since China, People's Republic of China was established. We had a lot of help from the former Soviet Union, and of course, also I think Soviet Union was, of course, at that time China was in the camps of those socialist bloc countries, and so I think that was a very important relation at that time, because China had the Korean War. China had later has Vietnam war and all those things. So I think that the relation with former Soviet Union is very, very important. But I think also in the early days of 1950s, because of Soviet Union help, there was a 156 key project that was helped by the former Soviet Union. For example, the first bridge across the Yangtze River, and there's 10 exhibition theaters centers in Beijing, and there's a lot of key project, particularly in the northeast of China. So I think those has paved the way for China at that time to really get to very on its ground, and then particularly that for the first decade of People's Republic, they have gone through all those challenges and isolations, and I think Soviet Union has played a great role there in helping China, of course. But later on, I think because China is also a very big country, and culturally, historically, they have many challenges. They had also has its unique way of doing things, and so I think that that relationship actually gone sour in the 1960s, in the mid-60s. I remember at the peak of a cultural revolution, there was actually a border clash in the northeast of China, in Heilongjiang, border there, and so I had a vivid memory. And then there was a war almost, going to happen. We have to. One of the things we did. I was still in the elementary school, but then we have to. For example, I live in the Chengdu, in the capital Sichuan province. We have to knock down the old city wall in order to make bricks for the underground tunnel. So we're worried about there could be a war broke out between China and Soviet Union. And actually, Chairman Mao at that time has a famous saying, dig the hole and store a lot of food and grain, and then maybe prepare for a war. So that was really in my memory, that was quite a bit of a challenging time we had at that time. So we have to, there's a quota. We have to build a wall and build the bricks for building this under tunnel. That if in case there's a bomb comes, or if there's air bombs, we can go underground. So that was really I was less than 10 years old. I mean, that time it was really interesting to remember now. But what I actually find is in the 70s, of course, things starting to change, and we had of course Kissinger visit, we had the Nixon visit, and China-U.S. has established diplomatic liaison, and then at that time we have of course China starting to. I think because of there is a conflict with former Soviet Union, China starting to turning around a bit, and also I think the U.S. has seen that opportunity, and also they are relaxing on their on their Taiwan policy. So I think the Shanghai Communique basically, paved the way for the next half a century of China's opening up and secure relations with U.S. and the Western world and things like that. So I think that has actually developed quite fast, and but I think gradually, but also on the same time, China also gradually. I think particularly in the 90s, late 90s, in early 1990, I remember the Soviet Union has dissolved, and actually Mr. Gorbachev actually came to Beijing in 1989, just before the 1989 student movement in China. So there's a bit of a all those socialist countries have some challenges, and then but after that, I think in the 90s, China gradually has, 80s and 90s stored good relation with Russian. Afterwards, after 90s, called Russian. I think from then on, we actually have to really balance the relation. But on the one hand, China economically has very much tied to the global economy, globalization, to the U.S. But on the other hand, I think Russian is also through a lot of shock therapy and of course adjustment. Russia has been quite stabilized at that time, so there's some exchanges too. Very much, and I think there's visit also since Putin comes up. There's a regular visit too, and by those countries, and I think now. We have this, the relationship is starting from to deteriorate with U.S. In the last 5-6 years, particularly since Trump took over. So you can see then there's really a lot of because there's a lot of geopolitical going on, and China felt has been entrenched, encircled by the U.S. So for that reason, I think Russian becomes a very good resources, becomes a good partner to some economically and in many other ways, so that China can withstand some of the pressure that the U.S. is having on China. So. But also given this, there's a lot of energy cooperation, there's a lot of cultural exchanges. So I think this Russian-China relation has already been maintained in a relatively stable position. So the thing what happened is the last 5-6 years, the China-U.S. relations started to deteriorate very much, and trade war. There's economic sanctions. There's ideology differences. There's what currently President Biden calls autocracy, democracy fight, and so all those things has really made things very, very difficult actually for China. And so I think currently I think people mention a lot about this Ukraine war actually, and so they thought China was in some kind of planning with the Soviet Union. China knows beforehand. China has with Russian, and China knows beforehand, and China was the plan together. So there's quite a bit of a misunderstanding on that. I remember actually, let's talk about this Ukraine war in the last year in November. President Biden but he had a virtual summit with President Xi. And then in that virtual summit, President Biden said, okay, we're not seek to change China. We're not seek to set up alliance against China. We recognize one China policy. And so he made a lot of nice promises on that. And we were really pleased to hear that. China was saying, okay, finally, after almost 1 year, Biden in power, they had the first virtual summit with President Xi. Actually, after the next day, I took an interview with Bloomberg television. I was actually saying, now we had a President Xi and President virtual summit. We hope we can, they have a new principle has been recognized. So let's continue relations. So I also said, welcome President Biden to come to the Beijing Olympic, which is going to happen next year in February. But at that time, the President Biden went back to Washington immediately. He was saying he's going to boycott Beijing Olympic. So that was really a big shock to all the Chinese, because we thought we just had a very good virtual summit. We have been talking very well, and now he said he's going to boycott that. And then at this time, I remember around this time probably, and President Putin comes out to say, "Great, I'm kind of Beijing Olympic. I'm going to support. I'm going to come in a big way. I'll be the major power leaders to come." So China, I think, appreciate that. If you have Beijing was worried, if the Winter Olympic, after all those preparation, all those building, all those investments, if it's no country, or if it's boycotted, that'd be terrible. That'd be really, So I think what President Putin has really come out to state to support this is really appreciated by the Chinese, I think. So, but then President Putin come, they had a discussion, and then they had a joint statement. But I would say, having a joint statement with visiting dignitaries or president of other countries is not rare. There's always a joint communique. There's always a statement of some kind. There's always a MOU. It's quite often. If you're in China, you see that quite often. And also, of course, in that statement, they said, okay, the friendship has no limit, and things like that. That's also, to my knowledge, is also quite often people say that to African countries, to many countries, because friendship, cooperation, no limit. It's quite a way natural way of saying that. But of course, this has been really, I would say, misinterpreted by the Western world in many ways, because they have deliberately say that they have something in mind. They were trying to do something. But actually, what has happened is that people say China would know President Putin going to launch this military operation. I doubt it, because I remember at that time the U.S. already saying, this war is imminent, it's going to happen, citizens should put out, and the Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson actually said, no, they don't believe that's going to happen. They said, this is not true. So I think there's quite a few times Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson actually, disbelieve that. So what has happened? If China would knew, actually in the end, when war broke out, the Chinese citizen were the last to pull out of Kyiv. Quite a few almost get killed. So if they knew, they would put out, in the first place. So I think, this theory that there's a conspiracy, China planned this with Russian, and China knew beforehand. China has, it was not true. I don't think that was true. So China constantly denied that, and even the Shangri-La dialogue last month in Singapore, China Defense Minister. Minister Wei Fenghe just said, he was asking 11, 12 questions after his speech, all very, very critical, sharp questions. And one of the questions, did China provide any military or economic or any support to Russia? And the defense minister of China said, no, absolutely not, no, because China has provided no military or material support to Russia on that. So you can see that this has been really the case that China wasn't aware of this. China shows hospitality to all the foreign dignitaries when they come to China, to Beijing, and of course they value the relationship between China and Russia, and because historically China has benefited the cooperation with Russia as well. So the other thing I think China also. I remember when the war broke out, China Foreign Minister Wang was at Munich Security Conference. That was almost first or 10 days of the what has happening. he was also being asked the same question. And China foreign minister said very clearly, the sovereignty and territorial integrity of any country should be respected. Ukraine is no exception. So he said very strongly on that. And I think China is interested to help to mediate this crisis. And I actually wrote a piece at the New York Times and saying that China, could help President Putin to mediate this war. Actually, so what we can see actually is this now this has gone quite several months now, and it's really very very. I think it's very bad because it's put globalization on standstill. We had an energy crisis, we had a food crisis, and we don't know how long it's going to last. And that's really, China actually has a much bigger interest. China is the country largest trading partner for both Russia and Ukraine, and Chinese Silk Road. I mean, this Belt and Road passing through Ukraine, and Ukraine is one of a few European countries signed up with the Belt and Road, and so the relationship between China and Ukraine is also good, and actually the Chinese ambassador in Ukraine actually tell Ukraine officials that we will not. China will never attack Ukraine, and has actually assured Ukraine of that. And also my think tank, Center for China and Globalization, we had actually two webinars on this issue. One is actually we had a webinar with the Ukrainian side. There's Ukrainian think tanks, universities, former politicians. We had discussion on that. So they were telling us, this war is really. That was quite a few months back, because when the war just spoke out not too long, and we had this dialogue with Ukraine think tank. I was wondering whether during that condition, whether even they have an internet connection, but that we managed to have that. And so they were saying they worry about the planting season. They were saying, look, I mean, if this war is prolonged, you're going to impact planting season in Ukraine, and then they will be really, we're going to have a food crisis probably. And so that was really one of the takeaway we had with Ukraine, the same time discussion. And then we had another one. We invited the European think tank. We have invited the Russian experts, actually from Carnegie Center from Moscow. And then we had another talk about this issue. So CCG is quite, trying to be constructive. So even though I wrote a piece on the New York Times, and I propose that perhaps we could have a 7-party talk. We should really resort to the UN approach. For example, I met the UN ambassador in China. I met French ambassador, European ambassadors. CCG often we have many ambassadors visiting us. I've been exploring the possibility with all of them, and. But what I actually suggested in that op-ed was saying that, look, I mean, UN Charter principles should be respected of the sovereignty, territorial integrity. Of course, this is really important, and China felt that the same thing for Taiwan as well, because Taiwan's sovereignty and territorial integrity should not be, violated as well. So, but what I can propose is that I see this war. What's the the end game, what's the end plan? So what I can see is that we currently, those geopolitical crises, we had North Korea, South Korea, they have almost a war broke out. So China, many years ago, has held the 6-party talks. So the 6-party talks, we've got quite a few rounds and have good understanding. And China actually, during the Trump administration, China actually voted that we together at the United Nations. P5, passed resolutions on sanctions on North Korea. So there UN can work on those big challenging issues. And for the Iran, the same thing. China participated, and I think there's 6 or 7 countries participated. And then there's Iran deal was made during the Obama era. So what I think, we're having this crisis. We shouldn't just have NATO meetings, EU meetings, and and the G7 meetings. But let's talk to UN, and I really see the UN, this P5 permanent member countries 5 plus EU plus Ukraine. Let's have a 7-party talk, and so China could be there, could really participate, and so I also discussed this with UN ambassador in China, and we see that actually UN Secretary General Guterres has actually went to Moscow, met President Putin, went to Kiev, met President Zelensky, and but we didn't see much support from Western countries, G7 countries. And so the moment he actually finished his visit, Chinese Foreign Ministry put a Twitter, highly praised, endorsed, Secretary General Guterres' visit to both countries. So I think it's important. We need all the parties together, because right now we have you see that we have of course the Western countries, NATO countries constantly have meetings. I mean, they had quite a few times already, G7, and because all those meetings, UN was not invited, China was not invited, so it basically like. Russia is fighting Ukraine, and both countries are fighting. And but behind Ukraine, you have NATO, you have US, you have all the Western countries. So the world is really divided into, on the European continent, there's 2 parties fighting basically. And China is the only country far away, not involved in any side, not on. So, and also a permanent member country of the UN Security Council. So just like, I just give maybe a metaphor. If just like two guys fighting in the street, if there's an accident, 2 guys fighting in the street, and then, if there's no intermediary, if there's no mediation, these 2 guys could fight to death possibly. But if there's somebody rational guy comes along and say, look, please don't fight. What's the problem? How things going, and stop them. Maybe they will say, oh, they calm down. They will really find a way to get out of that fight. So what I'm saying is that I'm just watching CNN and saying, okay, the President Putin and the President Zelensky, they're calling each other names, and I can't imagine how both of them, after all those ugly fight, they can sit down and talk and find a way out of this. So I would imagine if we have P5 countries like United Nations. We have US, we have France, we have British, China, Russian, and then we have EU, have Ukraine. Why not we all sit down and then find a peaceful solution, and also balanced security arrangement for Europe as well. China could be a guarantor for those crises, for this conflict, and so if the 2 sides, basically there's 2 sides. If even among this P7, this 7-party talk, there's 2 sides, Russian and NATO and US and UK, France, and EU and Ukraine. China is the only 3rd party. So I think this 3rd party is very, very important. If this 3rd party is there, then both sides will say, okay, I mean, when 2 guys fighting, sometimes they can't decide, or they really need to make a compromise. There's a witness. There's somebody credible there on the table. They can really, broke the deal. So I really think that United Nations, that's what the United Nations is for. We built United Nations after Second World War. This United Nations system has prevented us into a 3rd World War for the last 77 years. I mean, we still need United Nations, and everybody said United Nations principle should be upheld. So I think let's do this UN 7-party talks approach. Probably that's my recommendation. That's my suggestion. So what I see the future is that this could be prolonged. We don't need another Afghanistan, and then the problem is that if we have this, the European country will be unstabilized, and the Russian will be also suffer quite heavily due to the sanctions. China is not favor sanctions because I remember President Xi called President Putin when the war broke out. President Xi said, "Oh, I mean, let's not resort to the conflict. Let's through peace talks." And the president Xi talked to French President Macron, to German Chancellor Scholz, talked to President Biden. When President Xi talked to President Biden, he said, "Look, you and I, we're two largest economy. We have a moral responsibility to stabilize world economy. And China is willing to working with the international community to resolve the crisis of Ukraine." So that's President Xi, already said that, and because these economic sanctions is serving China and many other countries no good. Of course, I mean these developed countries, even on the sanction, maybe you have G7, you have EU countries, so there's about 12% of the population in the world probably favor the sanctions. But there's 88%, didn't say they favor that. You have China, you have India, you have Latin American, you have African, maybe one or two countries, you have ASEAN, you have only Singapore. Most countries don't favor sanctions. It's going to devastate into the world. For example, when the war now broke out, the energy crisis has gone up. But in China, 70% of Chinese energy depends on the import. This energy crisis gone up, it was going to cost China billions, if not trillions, in the years ahead. So, and also food, we may have a famine in Africa coming up. And what about winter? The European countries, we're going to really suffer. We're going to have a very, very cold winter this winter. So what I'm saying is that let's rationalize this. Let's really have the UN not really have this politicalized and then really the war drags on. I mean, it's really very, very, very dangerous. I think that, we have the wisdom. I mean, human beings have the wisdom. We have so many challenges. We have climate change. We have, energy crisis. We have, pandemic. And that's incredible. We're still having a pandemic going around. I mean, we have so many common issues. And why not we work together? I mean, human beings, why not we have to fight with each other? So this is really not make no sense. So from my personal point of view, I really think we should find a solution, end this conflict, this war as soon as we can, but can't just rely on NATO and Russia to compromise. I mean, President Putin is a strong character too. I mean, we almost have a nuclear button on alert there now. So it's very dangerous. We have to really, get the UN, get other parties comes in, and peacefully resolve this. Otherwise, I really see no way out, and then we can prolong, and then that's going to impact economy. We have, U.S. now is high inflation, 8.5% in the last 4 decades we've never seen. I mean, Europe, the economy is really bad, and Western world there's no strong leadership. It's very, very scary too. I mean, we have Boris Johnson just resigned. We just heard this morning, former Prime Minister of Japan, Shinzo Abe was assassinated, some kind, and then we have President Macron losing his majority at Parliament. We have Chancellor Scholz is still working on his coalition with the Green parties and things like that, and of course also the President Biden may face a very I expect midterm election. He may lose both houses. So the war is really into uncharted water now. I mean, we have to really work together and make the world a safer place. And China, as I can see, is willing to participate, willing to contribute, and we really need to make this world really our own planet, safe for all mankind. And we are living in a peace for 77 years. Who is willing to fight? I mean, in China, it's all single child family. There's only child. Who is willing to send their son, daughters to fight? I mean, that's really bad. So I'm going to stop here, and I'd like to, we can probably get some more discussions. Thank you very much.